Hello and welcome to another devotional from Arizona Community Church. We're so glad to have you with us today. Today's devotion comes from Ephesians chapter 2, verses 1 through 10. And I'd like to discuss the topic of being dead in our trespasses and sins. Paul opens up this section of his letter to Ephesus, pointing out that before they became Christians, they were dead in their trespasses and sins. And Paul is speaking of a spiritual death, the same spiritual death we have all been born into since the fall of Adam. It's a nice talking point, but what does that actually mean? If you've ever seen a toddler or even an adult at the grocery store who wanted toilet paper, you might notice that they will do anything to get what they want. They will lie, they will steal, and they'll even become violent in some cases. Now, usually parents patiently teach their children that this behavior is not okay. But who taught the toddler to behave that way in the first place? And the answer may surprise you, but no one. It's in our nature to do these things. We're born dead in our trespasses and sins. And as we get older, we moderate our behavior to some degree, some obviously more than others. But what about moderating our hearts? Can we moderate our hearts to want anything or something less than the toddler? Now we can't, but God does. And in verses 5 through 10, Paul paints this rich picture of how God can work in you. And it's by his grace that he gives you that faith in Christ. And he gives you that new heart that wants something different than the toddler. And it's this new heart that recognizes our sinful nature. Now, but while we have a new heart and we can now recognize that we're sinning against God, we are still tempted and can fall short. I still get angry at my wife and kids sometimes. Our coworkers might drive us nuts. And you might be tempted to lie to the police officer when he stops you for speeding even. And I'm not going to give you any legal advice here, but I'm told by those that are more mature than me that it does get easier. And like any discipline, the more you practice, the better you get. The more you practice following Christ, the better you get at it, and the more life looks like his. Temptation will always be there. We live in a fallen world after all. But our responses, if we remain disciplined, align more with God instead of with man. So my prayer for you today is for a changed heart. And if you already have that changed heart, continue to discipline yourself for godliness and walk in the Lord. Thank you and have a good day.